I'm going to ask my colleague Eric to step up. And by way of transition, I'll just say that I've had the pleasure of knowing Eric Belsky as a colleague for many years, and the real privilege these last 3 or so to work with Eric on a day-to-day basis ever since he's joined the board to lead the Division of Consumer and Community Affairs. And many of you know Eric. For those of you who may not, I'll say I think of Eric as somebody with an amazing intellect, a lot of integrity, and an amazing, seemingly endless well of optimism and good spirit and energy that he brings to our work. So it's been a lot of fun. Please join me in welcoming Eric Belsky.
Thank you, Dave, for that very nice introduction, and I'd like to also add my welcome to everyone here. As Dave said, I'm Eric Belsky, the Director of the Division of Consumer and Community Affairs at the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve, and it's wonderful to be with such a group of individuals who are so committed to making America a better place for children, but also for our economic future, so it's just a great feeling. I also want to thank the 12 Federal Reserve banks who partner with the Board of Governors on this conference. This conference wouldn't be possible without that level of effort on the part of the entire Federal Reserve System. This is an event we hold every other year, and it's a very important moment where we can pick an individual topic, an important topic, and try to elevate through bringing to a large audience a very wide set of research to help us better understand that topic, and that's what we're doing today. This year, as you know, we've chosen as a theme to focus on early childhood and youth investments and their impact in terms of laying a foundation for the future success of the people of the United States. And we're gathered over the next 2 days with leading researchers, as Dave said, from a very wide range of disciplines. And one of the, I think, very appealing aspects of this is bringing practitioners together with people who think about policy, with people who are conducting the research, and coming from this broad range of disciplines. And I think this is really a signature moment in which we've succeeded in doing those things. It's now a high honor and privilege for me to introduce the chair of the Federal Reserve, Janet Yellen. Chair Yellen is a dedicated public servant who has ably led the Fed since assuming the position of chair in February of 2014. In addition to chairing the Fed, she also chairs its important Federal Open Market Committee, which sets the monetary policy for the United States. Prior to accepting these appointments, she was vice chair of the Federal Reserve from 2010 to 2014. Immediately before that, she spent 6 years as the president of the San Francisco Federal Reserve Bank. So she brought to that position a remarkable appreciation and understanding of the breadth and depth of the work that goes on across the system. She's also chaired the Council of Economic Advisors. She has also chaired the Economic Policy Committee of the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development. She served on the faculty of several universities I think you'll have heard about: the University of California at Berkeley, the London School of Economics and Political Science, and Harvard University. Clearly, Chair Yellen has had a very distinguished career, but the facts of her career do not fully convey the kind of leader that she is and why she commands the respect of all of us who have had the privilege of working with her. Chair Yellen inspires us by combining an openness to considering diverse views with spurring us to do our best work, and she sets an example daily. She demonstrates her genuine commitment to public service and bettering the economic prospects of all Americans every day, to everyone she works with. She has the most solid of intellectual foundations, and she has a very strong moral compass. She lights the way and leads the way for us. It's fitting that Chair Yellen would be kicking off this conference because of her commitment to the Fed's dual mandate, which includes maximum employment. But it is also fitting because she stands as a beacon for those who look not just at the current economic cycle, but out past that economic cycle, to the long-run resiliency, productivity, and opportunity of our workforce and our entrepreneurs. Chair Yellen is a champion for diversity and inclusion. She's a champion for economic opportunity, and as this conference will show, these start with investing in our children and in our communities. So with that, please join me in welcoming Chair Yellen to the podium.
Eric, thank you for that beautiful introduction. I really appreciate it. And good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be with you today. I'd like to welcome all of you and thank you for joining us to discuss a set of topics of considerable importance to our country. This is the Federal Reserve's 10th Biennial Community Development Research Conference, dedicated, as always, to issues of significance to people and communities around the country. The conference is co-sponsored by and includes substantive contributions from the community development offices of all 12 Federal Reserve banks, as well as the Board of Governors. That united effort and level of commitment reflects how consequential we consider these issues to be. This conference is intended to present and highlight rigorous research that I'm confident will inform how you think about your own work, whether from the perspective of policymaking, community development practice, or research. Our last conference 2 years ago explored various aspects of economic mobility, largely among adults. This year, we gathered to discuss the economic futures of kids and communities. And in part, I see this topic as an extension of the earlier conversation about mobility. Today and tomorrow, we focus on research about the foundation or building blocks for economic success that are laid even before young people enter the workforce and assume responsibility for their own finances. We will hear from leading experts on a range of issues related to how children, youths, and young adults are shaped in ways that may ultimately affect their ability later to productively contribute to the economy and manage their finances. We can learn from what the data and analysis tell us, and our hope is that making use of this information will lead to more effective programs and policies, and thus better outcomes. Considerable evidence shows that growing up poor makes it harder to succeed as an adult. And new research by the Fed likewise shows the strong connection between the typical experiences of poverty in childhood and economic challenges later as an adult. The data come from the board's latest survey of household economics and decision-making, which will be published later this spring. In the most recent survey, we asked some of the younger respondents, aged 25 to 39, to think about their childhoods. We asked those young adults whether, during their childhoods, they found themselves worrying about having enough food to eat, having a stable caregiver, or about their personal safety. About 10% say they regularly worried about one or more of these concerns, and an additional 19% said they sometimes worried about them. We were then able to compare responses about their experiences in childhood to what these young adults told us about their current circumstances. And some pretty clear patterns emerged. Of those young adults who regularly had one or more of these childhood concerns growing up, more than one half say they are currently facing challenges in getting by financially. This fraction compares to just over 1/4 of those who said they never or only rarely worried about these concerns as children that now experience this level of financial challenge. Young adults who regularly or sometimes worried when they were children about their care, safety, or having enough to eat are also less likely to be employed, less likely to have consistent income month to month, and less likely to be able to pay all of their current monthly bills in full, compared with those who never or rarely worried about these concerns as children. Broadly speaking, children who grow up in insecure circumstances, those often experienced in poverty, seem disproportionately likely to experience financial insecurity as adults. This conference is about understanding what kinds of environments and resources can best help children meet with economic success after they reach adulthood. There's been a lot of discussion in the aftermath of the Great Recession about how to best connect people with steady jobs. But research presented over the next 2 days makes a compelling case that there is a need to also think longer term about how to prepare people for success in the labor market. In fact, this research underscores the value of starting young to develop basic work habits and skills like literacy, numeracy, and interpersonal and organizational skills. These habits and skills help prepare people for work, help them enter the labor market sooner, meet with more success over time, and be in a position to develop the more specialized skills and obtain the academic credentials that are strongly correlated with higher and steadier earnings. Indeed, a growing body of economic and education literature has focused on the relative efficiency of addressing workforce development challenges through investments in early childhood development and education compared with interventions later in life. I believe that data, evidence, and research can help policymakers and practitioners think more clearly about the implications for improving economic and life outcomes for everyone. To this end, the speakers at this conference will focus on 3 broad issues. I'd like to briefly mention each, highlighting some of the questions that I believe can be informed by the research that will be presented here. First, this morning's panel will address early childhood development and education. In recent years, medicine and social science have revealed more than we've ever known before about which factors and experiences in childhood can make a difference later in life. However, many questions demand further attention. A fundamental one is how positive developmental outcomes can be promoted among those who were not born into families with socioeconomic advantages. While we do know there are advantages to good quality early childhood education, we should strive to better understand what kinds of returns on investment this education provides and how to maximize these returns. The answers to these questions may influence thinking about how programs and interventions meant to assist kids and their families should be structured for maximum effectiveness to help put kids on the road to economic success. Second, researchers have explored the effects of neighborhoods and community conditions on the development of young people. Some presenters at this conference will share their understanding of how physical surroundings influence personal development. For instance, how do the form and quality of community institutions, such as schools, community centers, and libraries, play a role? What other kinds of community characteristics, such as public safety, transportation, and environmental quality, might help or hinder general education and financial skill development? A particularly important question is how kids' home environments affect them in ways that matter for their future economic success. It's also critically important to ask what kinds of interventions have proven track records, and are these programs scalable? Third and finally, other presenters will explore issues around skill development of youths and young adults, workforce outcomes, and the implications for the broader economy. They will ask how we understand which formative experiences most affect the ability of young people to successfully move to the next chapter in their lives, whether that means college, a job, or other paths such as self-employment. What role do a range of programs, starting with early childhood education, all the way through youth, vocational, or apprenticeship training, play in affecting job readiness? How effective are different approaches, and what are the returns on investment? We should also pay attention to how well young people form the sorts of soft skills, things like teamwork, communication, and the ability to handle conflict that are so valued by employers. And for young people whose paths become difficult, such as those who get caught up in the juvenile justice system, what effect do such experiences have on their futures as workers and consumers? And what are the most promising approaches to foster a course correction? I hope that the data and other evidence presented today and tomorrow are of use to you in your work. Community development professionals attending this conference may consider how the design and implementations of their programs may be improved. Policymakers may look more closely at how kids are affected, purposefully or unintentionally, by public policies. And researchers may encounter ideas that spark new work that can shed further light on these important topics. I think it's important that we better understand these issues, and I applaud you for taking the time to be here to share your knowledge and to learn. Our young people are our future, and we all want them to have the support they need for successful and fulfilling lives. As a central banker, I recognize the benefits to the broader economy when more people are better prepared for work and for managing their finances. In short, ensuring that all of our kids have strong foundations will help build a similarly strong foundation for the U.S. economy. Thank you, and best wishes for an excellent conference.